discussing my favorite standalone fiction books. So books that are not in a series. I've got a few here. Most of what's on my bookshelf is series, so it was kind of hard to find my favorite ones, like standalone, that I knew are truly standalone. Because sometimes you think a book is standalone, and then you find out, like years down the line, that it gets turned into a series or something. So, anyways, let's get started. So, I'm going to start off with my very favorite book of all time, and which happens to also be a standalone book. The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. Now, if you're not familiar with this book, it is a magical fantasy set in, I think it's either the late 1800s or early 1900s. I can't remember. I think it's the 1800s. It's been a while since I've read it, but anyways, it is just the best. Erin Morgenstern is amazing. She's only written 2 books, and she also wrote The Starless Sea, which I also have, but this is my favorite book ever. I was like actually upset when it was over, but anyways, it is about a magical circus that travels around mysteriously. You don't know where it's going to be, where it's going to end up, and the events that take place are magical. And it's got that like gothic, magical, secret society feel, if that makes sense. And it's so fun. I love it. I think it's just such a unique story. And I just love the way that she writes. Her descriptions are magical. It's so funny, this is my favorite book, and how I knew it was my favorite book was when I finished it. I was so upset. I kind of rush to finish books sometimes, I don't know, I'm just like impatient. And when I finished this book, I kid you not, I immediately just started reading it again. I did not move on to another book. That's how much I love this book. So I've read it twice, and it's so good. I feel like the story is so enchanting, and it has that like Victorian era vibe that just speaks to my soul, and then combine it with magic. Oh, I'm there. I'm here for it. I'm a sucker for like anything magical in like a Victorian era. It's just my most cherished book. And I even stamped it, which I filmed a video called Embossing My Favorite Books. I got a little stamper, and what you call it, embosser, an embosser. I don't know if you can see the little emboss right here, but it says, from the Library of Madison Moon. It's so cute. I don't know if you can see it because the next page is like black and white, but whatever. I love it. It'll always have a place on my shelf. Okay, next is The Midnight Library by Haig. And this book was so interesting to me. I just feel like the concept of this book was really cool. So basically, it's about lives like between here and the afterlife. And I don't want to spoil anything, but it starts off with a woman who attempts to end her life, and she ends up going to this place called I think it's just called the library. Maybe it's called the Midnight Library, I can't remember. But anyways, she can basically pull a like book and live out another life. So it gives her like a chance to live as many lives as she wants to, basically, until she finds happiness. So she tries out like so many different lives. And it's just, I thought it was just such a cool concept. I don't know, I just really liked this book. It really stuck with me. I just feel like it's a really nice book about the meaning of life and being happy. Is a fun one. I read this one so fast because I was like, it's a thriller for sure. It's like a sci-fi thriller. But it is called The One by John Mars. And it's basically, it's written in the different perspectives of multiple different people, but it's set kind of like a near future time where they come up with a new DNA test that helps you find your soulmate. So like the person that you're supposed to be with, they've like kind of proven that soulmates are real, and it's like in your DNA. So it tells the stories of the individual people that have gotten these tests, and how that's kind of played out for them. And the writer was so creative when it came to the scenarios, because it's like very Black Mirror-y. And it's soon to be a TV series, so I'm excited about that because I loved Black Mirror, so I hope, and this felt very much like that. So it was a very fast read. It's a small book, but it's like I think I read it in like 2 days, but it was so good. I binged it. It was amazing. I couldn't put it down. And I just really love like concepts, like Black Mirror stuff, you know, like things that could happen, or like I guess like philosophical dilemmas and like psychological stuff. So I always like watch movies and TV shows like that if I can. I'm always intrigued and attracted to those types of movies and TV shows. So if you have any books, recommendations for like psychological thrillers or like philosophical dilemmas, those types of like underlying themes, let me know in the comments, because I don't know how to like find more books like this, because I love stuff like this. I love sci-fi, like thriller stuff, you know. this one, like a teensy bit more. So, this book is about, once again, an in-between place between, like, death and heaven, or whatever you want to call it, the afterlife. So basically, yeah, it's about this guy who passes away and is meant to, move on to the afterlife fully. But there's kind of this in-between place where people go when they're going to pass away, and there's people there that are guides to like help them pass on. That's their job, because obviously it can be pretty scary. So it's a love story, and it's interesting because the main character in the book, lived a life that he was very like lonely and unhappy, and so it's an interesting concept of like finding out happiness in the afterlife. So it's really good. I did cry, and I just loved it. Okay, next is The Invisible Life of Addie, LaRue by V.E. Schwab. I adopted this book. This is a book about a girl who, centuries ago, is trying to escape her wedding day because she doesn't want to get married. And she ends up coming across a demon of sorts, and kind of like bargaining, making a bargain. It results in her being able to live forever. However, no one will remember her after they can't see her anymore. So like, for example, if she walks into a coffee shop and orders a coffee, and the second that she walks out of that coffee shop, the person is going to forget who she was. They never saw her. Which I imagine that's probably how baristas are anyways, but anyways. Or any server for that matter. Or anyone working in retail. Anyways, so yeah, she lives for multiple centuries, but she's very alone because she can never really have any friends or romantic partners or anything, because no one can remember her the second she's out of their sight. So it's interesting. It's like a story about how, be careful what you wish for. So, but I loved it. It's so good, and I didn't see the end really coming, so I really liked it. Next is Gods of Jade and Shadow by Silvia Moreno-Garcia. So this book I love, and I love Silvia Moreno-Garcia. She's a really good fantasy fiction author, and what I like about her is that her fantasy fiction is always mixed with horror. So I would call this like a horror fantasy. But anyways, it is set in 1920s Mexico, so during the Jazz Age, and it's about a girl who comes across a Mayan deity, and I should say gods of the underworld, and she accidentally comes across them. it's really good. I really love this setting. I think it's a very unique setting. 1920s Mexico, and it just has a lot of like Mayan and Mexican folklore in it, so it's pretty cool. So she has to go on like this adventure in the underworld, and it's like the setting is very cool. The Book of Longings by Sue Monk Kidd. So this is a fictional story about the wife of Jesus. And, I've said this before, I'm not religious, but this story's so good. Also, Sue Monk Kidd is an amazing author. But it's pretty cool because it tells the story about Anna, Jesus' wife, from her perspective. So it's just beautiful, and obviously the time that it's written in, ancient Jerusalem, is so interesting. And it starts off from like her entire life. So, all the years before she meets him and they fall in love, and what it's like to be the wife of the Son of God. So it's just so good, and Sue Monk Kidd is just an amazing author. I have loved pretty much every book I've read by her, but this is my favorite one, and it's one I just think about often because I just think it's such a unique story. I don't think, like I said, I'm not religious, so forgive me if I'm speaking out of turn here, but I don't think Jesus had a wife. I'm pretty sure that's like kind of his whole thing, was that he's like did his own thing, but I don't know. So obviously it is fully fiction, but it's very good. It's interesting to read about what life would have been like in the very first century, so that's pretty cool. Okay, next is The Bone Houses by Emily Lloyd Jones. So this is a horror fantasy fiction about a family of grave diggers. I think that's their family business, is grave diggers. And they live in a village where the dead do not stay dead. And they call them the bone houses. So they come up out of the ground and it's a curse and everything. Or at least they believe it's a curse. So it's pretty much about the daughter in the family trying to kind of like solve this issue of the dead coming back to life. So it's good. I'm a sucker for a horror fantasy novel. I usually really like them, and I just feel like this is such a cool standalone book, and I thought it was really well written, and a very fun story in my opinion. It's one of those ones where I was like, randomly, I wasn't looking for a book, but I was in a bookstore, and I read the back, and I was like, buying this immediately. It just sounded so interesting. So up my alley. I should look into what other books she's written because I really liked this book. Okay, next is, and I've talked about it a lot recently, so apologies, but I'm talking about it again. The Great Alone by Kristin Hannah. Kristin Hannah is a new author to me who I adore. This book is about a family in the 1970s who moves to remote Alaska, and it's just so intriguing. It's a dysfunctional family, I will say that. Trigger warning, spousal abuse. But the girl in it, the daughter, she's the main character, is just, I just loved her. I just really, Kristin writes characters in a really, in my opinion, in a really real way, and makes them like relatable. So it's just such a good book. So it's super interesting from like just the aspect of living in remote Alaska to you know, the drama of the dysfunctional family. But anyways, it's just beautiful, and I sobbed at the end of this book. It's so good. So highly recommend it. Okay, last but not least, we have A Cloud Cuckoo Land by Doerr. I love this book so much. It is thick. It is a historical and fantasy fiction about, I should say it's set in it's told by different points of view that spans over multiple centuries. So the first timeline is back in Constantinople. So I don't even remember what century that is, but the 15th century. And then it goes all the way to the future. I don't know if it actually gives a like time, but anyways, it's basically a story about how this one story connects all of these different characters over the course of many centuries. And it's hard to describe what this book is about. I feel like I struggle every time I try to talk about this book. But it's so good. I usually have a tough time caring about all characters in a book when there's different POVs. But I really wanted to read every story in this book, each character's story, because I just thought they were all beautiful. And it talks about just the different struggles of the different times, and you know, it's mostly very much, how do I say it? I don't know. It's just really good. You just gotta read it. I don't know. It's a very unique book, and it's one of those books that I really thought about for a long time after I read it. And I had a bit of a book hangover when I finished this one because I just felt like it was really good. And I know he's pretty famous for All the Light We Cannot See, which I haven't read. I don't know if he got a lot of accolades for this book, but I hope that he did because it's so well written. And it was just riveting, honestly. So those are my favorite standalone fiction books. This is obviously just the ones that I've read and ones that I own. So I imagine in the future of my channel you will see more standalone favorites videos because, I mean, there's many more to come. I read a lot. So anyways, I hope you're doing super, super well. Sweet dreams.